today I'm going to be discussing chapter 8 of Java, serious polymorphism. So let's jump into it. So firstly, you have in this chapter basic polymorphism. What it means is it lets you write code that works with many types of objects as long as they share one common parent. So as long as they share one common superclass, let's say. So an analogy would be having a box labeled animal, and you can put a dog, a cat, or a bird inside of it because they're all animals. So they're all, the type of object is an animal. So here's an example of the code. You just have an animal object here, and then you call this make sound method, which surely comes from the superclass animal, and you call that method because you're able to inherit the method from that superclass. Then we have interfaces. What it means, basically interfaces, an interface is like a contract, right? So it says if you want to be, for instance, a pet, you must know how to perform specific methods or a specific behavior. So these two behaviors over here. So yeah. So an analogy would be like a remote control. So it doesn't care if it's talking to a TV, a fan, or a robot, as long as the device knows how to respond to these specific methods. So they use the same methods that come from the interface. So as you can see, I have an example here, interface pet, and then there's two methods. Then the class will basically implement the interface pet and use the methods over there. So an interface is basically abstract, so the methods are not complete. So within the class, when you use the methods from the interface, you basically complete those methods and use them and call them and stuff. Then there's abstract classes. Abstract classes are half-built blueprint. So it gives you some working parts but leaves others for you to finish. So it's basically a class that's not complete. So like a method won't be complete, or it's a class that doesn't have any methods and stuff like that. So you can see here, you name it abstract class, and then the name of the class. Within it, you have here a method print report, and then you have an abstract method run report, which is incomplete. Then when we inherit from this superclass, this abstract class, with this class inheriting from this abstract class, it uses the method, the abstract method, but it has to complete the method by giving it its own behavior. So yeah, let's have a look at how basic polymorphism, interfaces, and abstract classes works in our code. So firstly here, let's see. Yeah, here I just have static class that just has an object, three objects actually, list, and two dog objects, and we call the add method to add these two dog objects to the list. And here's the add method that is called. If next index is less than the dogs.length, if it's less than the basically the length of values in the array, in this array over here, then this runs and it prints basically the next index. Then we have here on page 209, animal class, animal test drive, class here, cat, dog as well. So firstly here, my animal list, this is a class, and we have two private here, private array and a private variable. Then here, this is the public method add. It's gonna add values to this array over here. Yeah. Then this is where you start using interfaces, as we can see, as well as, yeah, basically interfaces. So firstly, I have an interface here, pet, and it has two methods, be friendly and play. Now, the pet interface basically has two methods that are going to be used by another class. So firstly here we have this this class animal. It's basically a super class. So it has this method roam, and it's just gonna print out the animal is roaming. Then we have a subclass dog, and it's extending from animals, so it's gonna inherit animals method. While it does that, it's gonna implement the methods which within the pet interface basically. So in order to do that, we use this implement statement. So basically the interface, as I was saying, is it has methods that another class can use essentially. So it's like a contract where a class can use specific methods in the interface. So here it uses this class dog uses be friendly, which is from the pet interface, and it can basically implement this method and place its own behavior. And then it can also use the play method from the pet interface as well, as we can see here, and give it its own behavior. Here it's just overriding. Here it's just basically declaring our own method for this dog class. So it doesn't belong to this animal superclass, doesn't belong to this pet interface. This method belongs to the dog class over here. And then this is where we run the program, and within this method we have the objects that we need. This one object over here, my dog, and using this object we call the roam method within the animal class, be friendly and play method within the pet interface, as well as the eat method that we declared that belongs to this dog subclass over here. And when we run that, it then shows the behaviors over here. Because firstly we called we first called roam, and it shows here. Then these two methods from the pet interface, which are here, and then this method from the dog class here. Then we have basically here is another, here we have abstract classes over here. So let's see how abstract classes work. So an abstract class is basically a class that's like incomplete. So the methods or the class itself are incomplete. So it needs to be completed by another class essentially. So here we have this class report. It has two methods, run report and print report. Then we have a class here, buzzwords report. it's gonna inherit from this report class, this super class here, or this abstract super class. And while it does that, we're basically overriding the run report method by giving it its own behavior. The behavior we give it is, firstly, we call the run report method not from this subclass, but from the super class. That's why we declare super.runReport, which is this. So when you think about it, it will actually print setting up report, because we call that run report there. Then we have we call this buzzword compliance method, which we basically declared within this buzzwords report clause, and it just prints checking buzzword compliance. Then we call the print report, which we inherited from this super class or this abstract class here, and it prints printing report. And then we have the main class here with its main method. Within it, we have this object report, and we're using this object report to basically call the run report method. The run report method that we're calling is this one over here within the subclass buzzwords report. And when we call that method, it runs this whole program essentially. And then we get setting up report, and then this line and this line as well. So that's basically a summary of chapter 8, working with basic polymorphism, interfaces, and abstract classes.